yeah, we will go through these terms of reference, which are our functioning rules. So we will go through that with this scheme. So first, the board. So the board was requested indeed by when we did the application. So it's one representative by HCP members. So we have formally 31 HCP members, so 31 representatives. Here we are more, but we will see later that it's the assembly, let's say. As this is the first annual meeting, we decided to make this open because so that everyone meets. But formally, so the board is only one representative by HCP and also the patient group chairs. So the patient group chair and the 5 co-chair, meaning one patient co-chair per rare disease working group. So we have 5. So this is also something which was from the time of the application, because the patient involvement is going also through the involvement in the boards, as outlined by Hurard this morning. So, and each HCP members also have appointed substitute representatives, so that when they are not available for attending, for instance, meetings and the board meeting and so on, they can be replaced by the substitute. And this is important because it ensures also that you are participating. Each HCP should participate. So it's if you have a substitute or other team members which can be involved, it's good. So it's the strategic decision-making body. So the role is, for instance, like today, to agree on the terms of reference, or to adopt, to agree on the action plan or on the budget, and to also agree on some rules like criteria for including the new members. So that will be defined by the rare disease working group, as it was suggested this morning. There will be a revision or approval of criteria, and so the procedure is just that it meets once a year at least, formally, and decisions are taken by consensus, and vote is possible if it's necessary. And in case of equality, the voice of the chair is predominant. So the board is chaired by network coordinator. And then we have the assembly. This is what we are today, meaning it's more representative by healthcare providers, members of the network, and also more patient representatives, which enable broader participation, involvement, and representativity, and that everyone meets. So the limited number of participants is function of the budget and what was possible. And so procedure, it's just meet once a year at board meeting. And then we have the council. So the council is really the operational decision-making body. So it's composed of the chairs of the working groups, the transversal working groups and the rare disease working groups, and the patient working group, and the coordinator who is sharing the council. So it's a body which is meeting every 4 months, or more related to needs, but by virtual meetings, like the rare disease group. And co-chairs are the substitutes, so they can attend as it's necessary. So the role of the council is to monitor and to implement really closely the action plan, so to follow all the actions and then to feedback to their working groups, and also to give the feedback to the council about what the working groups are feeling, so that we can also, the council can then report to all the members. So it's really the really operational body. So the council met in Vilnius, and the second time virtually, and it will meet a third time before the end of the year. And then we have the working groups. So 5 rare disease working groups. with a chair and a co-chair by each working group, and then the members. So the chair and the co-chair, they are responsible for implementing this action plan of VASCERN that we have seen this morning. And the HCP representative are the members, and they are those who are taking care of the disease included in these groups. And then there is the EPAG patient group co-chair by each disease group who is participating to these monthly virtual meetings. And so the rare disease group, they are responsible for organizing the patient care in the EU, for defining the best practice, for writing the guidelines, and all the actions that we have seen this morning. And also to use the CPMS, the Clinical Patient Management System. So, and to then the chairs report to the council and the board. So these working groups, they meet virtually once a month, as you know, because you are doing these virtual monthly meetings, 1 hour meeting. And at least 15 last minutes are dedicated to patient case, clinical discussion, complex case discussion. So it will be by using the CPMS once we have it implemented. And so the chairs of this group, they are elected within this group, and it's the same as for the board. The decisions are taken by consensus, and the vote is possible if it's necessary. And then we have the transversal group, so it's kind of the same functioning. Exactly, actually one meeting per month. And members are the HCP representative, but also team members when it's necessary, other team members depending on their expertise, and also the patient representatives who are willing to participate actively. So actually in our transversal group, patient representatives are in also participating. So there, we will see after the different thematics that we have. And so it's the same principle. The chairs are responsible for implementation and for diffusion of the information. So we have also this patient group with 1 chair and 5 chairs per each rare disease group. And all the members of this patient group, so we have different level of participation. For instance, we have EPAG representatives and also EPAG members. So that's why we have like 78 patient organizations, but not all are involved in the same level. There are 4 different levels of involvement of patient organization. But the more involved are the chairs and the representatives. So it's about 12 to 15 patient representatives more involved. So, and the patient group, then there are specific terms of reference for this patient group, also developed with the more broader framework of the EPAG developed by Hurard. So, by the way, you have this term of reference, you have it in paper, so I'm not going to say everything, but you can read them, you have them. Normally it was at the welcome desk, so just you can follow on this for the different things. So we have an advisory board. But this is not yet formalized. Actually, we would like to take ideas on how we will develop this board advisory. So it should be a representative from public authorities, scientific society, relevant experts, from industry, foundation, etc. From all ideas are welcome for this, and we are waiting for some experts to to advise. The role would be consultative. It's external body. So the idea would be to suggest a kind of partnership with this advisory group and also external advice. And it will be a body which could be consulted by the board of the VASCERN. And then we have this idea of other ERN's representatives when there are some overlapping disease or needed, which need to discuss with other ERNs. So this was established during the application process, and it's actually happening for the VASCA group, because so with a group in skin ERN, we have a representative participating in this group, and one from VASCERN participating to the other group, so reciprocal representation. So this should be developed when necessary with other disease group of ERNs. And so this is just to remember the structure with the 5 disease group, the patient group with the 5 co-chair, 1 per each disease working group, and our transversal group, so the registry, the EL's training. Actually, they started both to really work. We will see that later on, because they will present more in detail the actions. So, and the 2 other ones, it's more like advisory. For instance, ethics working groups, so shared by Romain Alderweireld. It will be more a group available for everyone to ask advice, expertise on ethics, but it's not like a group which is going to meet every month. And communication is the same, it's more like advisory for us. So then you can, if you have a question on this terms of reference that you have also in paper version, you can we can now take some questions, because I didn't went through all the text, but also something important is maybe the HCP member representatives' role and responsibilities. So this you can see it on the paper which was distributed. So the responsibilities of HCP members is to sit in the VASCERN board once a year and to have the capacity to decide and act on behalf of the HCP team, and it's also a responsibility to participate in the group and to use the system, the CPMS, and also to propose new projects and propose new HCP members, for instance, and while all the different roles are explained in this terms of reference. So do you have questions on this, or maybe things that you would like to clarify on this kind of rules, or is it clear?
So yes, so the idea is that we are going to formally approve that. So it's time to ask questions before the approval if you have questions. One question, yes.
Question regarding the family associations. How they have been selected? Do we have some scores to select the associations of families? And how on 78, 15 have been selected here?
Comment est-ce qu'on a voulu répondre?
So this could be answered also by Eurodis, because the development of EPAG, European Patient Advocacy Group, has been done in cooperation with the Eurodis. So maybe Matt
Uh, So we launched a call for application, and then we went through an election process. Back before just when the application process for ERNs was being developed last summer. We got about 85, we elected 85 patient representatives to be active on network boards and committees. When you look at the ERNs, there's 24 of them. There's 150 disease-specific clinical committees underpinning them. So pulmonary, there's 10 clinical committees underpinning it. So having 3 patient reps go through the election process for that network wasn't enough. So what we've done is we've gone out and actively pursued and tried to find patient representatives to sit on each clinical committee. So because the priority was that we made sure that there was some patient input into those committees. So we've gone through a process of elections and then recruitment more actively, and we're going to go through a re-election process in about 18 months' time to do consolidation. The important time at this point was capacity in place to develop the networks. And so that's what we've got. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Super.
We are not very selective for the patient association within the VASCERN, actually. We are accepting largely patient association, and there is a process to benefit from the EPAC formation, but this is slightly different from what I say.
There's identifying patient organisations in each country for all the conditions in this network and all the networks. And that's more like a stakeholder group who can be engaged and ask questions about their opinions about care or care pathways, etc. The EPAG representatives are the ones which sit on the different committees, and they're the ones which we went through the recruitment process. But some of the networks already had identified patient reps to be involved in the application process in the beginning. So we adopted those as well. So it's a bit half and half, but we try to be as transparent and open and equitable in this approach. And it was for all patient organisations. So we want to know your patient organisations to be able to link them into this network. So please let us know, each of you, each of the healthcare providers in this room. That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
if that was an output of this board meeting, I would be very happy.
Yes, I just made this remark just to say that we were more inclusive than exclusive. And the idea was to have everybody in and to favor those who were willing to participate and to give them the tools. So that was a cooperation in this spirit, I would say. Other questions? Yeah. Another question from the patient. Other patients.
Sorry, so just for an example, I've got a request from one patient's association that is not listed with the Hurard. I should pass on to you to have added. Okay, that's great. But then of these 78 or 79, which will become, when we need the information, we get for all of them or only for the 12, 13 approved?
No,
because recently we have made a research for a database of all the patients association, and it has been filled only for 12 or 13 associations. So it has not been distributed to all.
So just stepping back a second, what's important is to get patient representatives involvement in each of the different committees, working groups, etc. Where there is gaps, we need to fill those gaps. Some networks, we've only got 2 patient representatives. Here we've got 15 working in the different committees. That's fantastic. I would love that to be the case for other networks. Some of the EPAGs have grown very quickly, like 40 patient organisations. And like with the ERNs, you know, if this, with the new call for members to this network, if all of a sudden there's another 100 centres which are included, it becomes unmanageable. So this year, my recommendation has been to the EPAG groups is to make sure there's a representative in each of the committees. Once you get that number in terms of formal representatives in these committees, stop at that number. in terms of the ones who sit in those committees. Otherwise, it'll become unmanageable. You don't form as a team. It becomes not operational.
An army.
We need to continue to find patient organisations in each country for all the disease. So when I think it's Claudia and I can't remember the other lady's name for HHT, that they can link back to those other HHT organisations in Italy, in Greece, in all over Europe to canvass opinion. So that's a wider stakeholder group of patient organisations, and we need to continue to do that. And if you give us the contact details, we can help to try and manage that. That's not for them to become members of Eurordis. This isn't about membership of Eurordis.
Okay, so any other remark? Yes. One in the front, one in the back. So we'll start with the back. And then we conclude, I guess.
I have a question about the chairs and co-chairs rules. It says that you have that's a term for 5 years. But how are the others then re-elected? Or because if everybody is just going there for 5 years, then in 5 years' time, every group has a new chair, and how is that?
So the question is it lasting 5 years for everybody? Is that the question?
Yeah, and if it's lasting for 5 years, then in 5 years you have a whole new group.
Yeah.
So everything will be new, and are that their HCPs who are already in and then becoming a new chair, or are that new people? Or
Yeah. So the idea of 5 years, it was because the funding is for 5 years. And the experience that we gained from the first year is that managing the funding, it's taking more than 1 year. So if we change before the end, we will not be able to translate the money to another person. So that's the reason for the coordinator remaining 5 years. Now, do we want to synchronize all the chairs or not? We can choose not to synchronize, but that was the proposal. To make it simple, which doesn't mean that one person cannot stay as a chair for longer than 5 years. And if he wants to leave, he can leave before 5 years also. But that was the proposal. It has to be adopted. We can change it if we want.
But the 5 years is also linked to the contract we have with the Commission for the year end. Actually, it's a 5-year contract, and and also the year end it's for 5 years, and then you have evaluation. But Anna, maybe you can comment on this, or it's.
The year end, the 5 years is a cycle for evaluation,
Yeah.
but it's not. They won't terminate in 5 years'
Yeah.
time, and they will stay unless, of course, the minimum criteria falls.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, they will have the whole process of resubmitting and and we'll see if it's the same or not the same. And evaluation and and the paper and you know what. Yes.
Yes. So I have a question really for the patient reps here. We're in a lovely position in VASCERN that we have so many, and something which is concerning us is about the issue of deputies when people can't be present, and if it is therefore easier to have more participating in each working group meeting. We don't want to overburden people, but equally I think this is the right forum to just ask the question. Would you prefer to have more of you invited to the working group meetings, or to keep it to the chair, to obviously because we're all so busy and we all appreciate that. But when it comes to having deputies, as for this meeting, maybe it would have helped, maybe it wouldn't have helped, I don't know. But I just wanted to suggest that as a question for the patient groups.
So the reasoning behind was that we want to have the rare disease working groups and the other groups not too big. If we have a lot of people, then nothing happens, and this is teleconferences usually, as you know. So above a certain number, we are not efficient. The important thing from my view is that all the information is going to the patients, and this is why there is always one patient representative in all the groups that we have designed in this VASCERN. Now, if he cannot come, he has to have somebody else who comes. That's it. from my point of view, that would be my position. Now I can hear other position if you want.
Yeah, also, at some point, the co-chair were asked to design a substitute co-chair for patient representative. So I think this should be done indeed for having for sure someone patient representative in these monthly meetings. So maybe the patient co-chair can comment on this, or.
So maybe yes, there is an ambiguity about the co-chair who has to have a co-chair to replace the co-chair who is not chairing. So if you follow me, then it's maybe that's the answer to your question. Is that clear? Excuse me? The square chair. Okay, other question? Other remarks? Can we consider that everybody is happy with what we presented? Do you want to change something? If no, this is adopted? Yes? Okay, raise hand. Allez, raise hand. But only voting people, huh? One per HCP. Okay, so we have the last majority, I think. We have some external people looking at that, and they would tell us, is that all right? Okay. So this is the first part of the meeting. And then, Maureen, what is next?
There was this discussing the process.
Oh, okay. Just a word about trying to reduce the emails, but we spoke about that this morning, which is how to work with VASCERN. So we had the issue of internal network communication because we are convinced that the network difficulty is to have communication within the networks, and we are big enough so that it is a real problem. And if we want to communicate by mails, then you all have benefited from the mails from Marine, and you want to try something else, from what I understand, shorter format. So what is proposed is that we are going to work with coordination team for the meeting organization, minute of what? Review and dissemination, minute of
meetings.
Of meetings, review and dissemination, and reporting to council and board for the regular working group. So the chairs work with the coordination team, and the chairs are responsible for the transmission within the group. And then the solution to communicate between us is the e-health collaborative platform, and you saw that already VASCERN is one of the ERN which is using largely the IT platform. So all the documents in the ERN collaborative platform. So the problem then, maybe, Maureen, you want to ask, do you want to, as chair, to upload directly or to go through the...
It depends on what you prefer, actually, the chairs.
Through the coordinator. Do you want to send to the coordinator group so that we put for you on the IT platform? This is a mail. Or you can put it directly on the IT platform. We just, whatever you want.
Better we send it to Marine.
You want to keep contact with Marine, actually. Okay. Okay, so.
Both options.
First options? So everything, both options?
Both options, so that some can send to Marie, and others, if there's stuff to upload. I don't know if that would work. So
when you have both options, you have a possibility for a mistake.
Okay. So from my perspective, it is very, very easy to upload to the platform, and it is just as quick as putting it in an email to Marine.
Okay. To tell you the truth, this is why we propose to do it.
Yes. So it is just as quick to upload to the platform as send the email to Marine. So that's my experience.
So the chair put on the platform.
But
not all chairs agree. So
maybe it depends. Then we need to just see who prefers what, and we would do like that. Okay.
But what I really ask is to have red flags from you. That is red flags. Because to us it's very important to have your help and your support to remind what are the very important appointments not to be missed. And therefore, you have what I ask you is that you study the way to communicate very easily. We shouldn't have to scroll all the pages to get all the information, but just to the first lines, perhaps in a. Perhaps, no, I understand it's a very difficult task for you because you have a lot of things to, but it's important that in the first 3 lines you put in clear who is involved, perhaps some of us and not all of us, what is the date, what is the task, so the 3 items fundamental, and dates not to be missed.
Yeah.
And if we have to download something from the platform,
yeah, we will try to establish a template for email with like a red, green, and yellow flag, for instance, and like all like template for emails, and it will be better. Then you know if you have to read it or not. Okay.
If you can throw it away. And mail to remind meetings. Do you want mail to remind meetings?
No, I try to put information when it's just information. And then when it's something you need to reply for one date, I try to put the date, but yeah. Yeah.
So for the monthly meeting, do you want emails before the monthly meeting to remind you that? When? The morning? The day before? The day before. So a mail to everyone who is supposed to participate in the rare disease working group the day before. Okay.
Yeah, and our idea was also to put the links for the meetings in the shared agenda in the platform. Yeah. But this is maybe not helpful, I don't know.
Yes, it is helpful. It will be, more and more. So we will do it anyway. To put the agenda in the agenda of the platform, when you don't know what happens and when is the next meeting, you go to the platform and to the agenda, and you have your answer. And when you don't have the link because you send the mail away or whatever, you go to the agenda, you click on the date, and you got the link to be connected through WebEx.
And a question for Jean-Marie. WebEx is exploitable from whatever device? Smartphone, iPad, from whatever. It doesn't recognize you for the PC or for the identity.
It works on Firefox, Internet Explorer, smartphone also.
Yeah.
But, yes, it's quite universal. PC, Firefox, Internet Explorer, smartphones. But the main thing is be sure to have a good Wi-Fi speed. Test it before, and be careful with the Larsen. So it means between the loudspeaker and the microphone, it's better to have a headset.
It's working also with Chrome. Actually,
Chrome also, yes.
Just to share one thing we discovered in the HHT working group is that if we have videos on from certain countries, it tends to crash. So I don't know if that has been solved, but we try to switch videos off, certainly, from some of the countries. So the UK bandwidth doesn't support.
The bandwidth problem.
It's a bandwidth problem. So if you knew which countries, that would be helpful to share so that yeah.
Okay. And monthly video conference for each group. We try to stick to the timing, systematic report. And we have you do change the format?
No, it will be soon. We will propose just something. So just for easier
reporting of
attendance, because now we realized with Natasha that it wasn't so clear for us. So that's why we will propose something else this month.
So attendance to the teleconference will be one way to evaluate the activity of the errands. So we need to record that.